Hello everyone and welcome. This is Chloe with you again from Cousin DIY. Today I'm going to show you how to make these really cute crystal and wire wrapped rainbow cloud earrings. So let's go ahead and get started. The first step is to download this template and cut it out, or sketch your own little cloud design and tape it to your work surface. Make sure I've got it nice and even. The next step is to cut an 8.5 inch length of 20 gauge silver wire. So I'll use my ruler, 8.5. Now, when I am wire wrapping with wire, I find it helpful to work the wire between my fingers a little bit, and to do this more easily, I use my needle nose pliers to hold one end of the wire, and I just run my fingers. It kind of heats the wire up and makes it a little bit easier to form. And I want to make sure I have my needle nose pliers, my round nose pliers, and my tape handy. Now I'm going to try to find approximately the middle of this length of wire. And starting with my round nose pliers, I'm going to start forming that, bending and trying to follow the shape of this cloud the best I can. And I found that it was really helpful after I made my first few bends to use tape to tape down what I had already formed. Makes it so much easier to continue working. So I'm going to tape that. And then sometimes you can use your fingers, but the tools really come in handy. Sometimes I find you really need the round nose pliers. Other times the needle nose work just fine. You can see I'm just using that shape as a guide to form my cloud. And when we get to the top, the middle of the top of the cloud shape, I find it helpful to lift the tape from the top of my template. We want to crisscross these wire tails and find that middle and twist. Give them a twist like that. There, I'm happy with that. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and remove all the tape. At this point, I'm going to give it one more twist. And then I will use my round nose pliers and needle nose pliers to form a wrap loop at the top of this shape. So my first step is to take my round nose and form a loop like that. And I'm going to bring the the tail that I just formed the loop with down. And then I'm going to start wrapping the other tail. I'm going to take my time right around the section that we twisted. I use my needle nose to make sure there aren't any sharp edges remaining on that tail. And then my flush cutters, and there we have our cloud shape. Now at this point you can manipulate it a little bit if you think it got twisted or out of shape at all. The next step is, I've used both 24 and 28 gauge, but I think we're going to use 28 gauge today. And I'm just going to, well, let's measure it and I'll tell you how long. About a 12-inch length. We just want to have plenty of wire. We won't need all this, but it will be helpful when it comes to wrapping. So as you will see, I made these with the crystal, the crystals like going in opposite directions so that when you wear them, they'll kind of be symmetrical on both sides. So with that in mind, I'm going to start right about here, and I am going to wrap this very thin 28 gauge wire several times around the bottom edge of the cloud. You'll find this is very formidable because it's so thin and soft. It can also be helpful to take your needle nose pliers and you can just kind of squeeze that wrap together so it's nice and tight and snug. Okay, I think I've wrapped it probably 6 times. I'm going to slide it over to a position I'm happy with. And then I'm going to pinch those together one more time. Now I'm going to just test it out, take it on a bit of a diagonal, right about over to there. So I want to fill up the length of wire that will be inside the cloud with these very colorful rainbow colored 4mm crystal bicones. So let's do blue, yeah, that fills that diagonal in nicely. The next step is to wrap this wire off again on the other side. And this time I'm going to wrap it, I'm going to go back around the back side of that wrap one time to kind of anchor it. And then I'll keep wrapping on the right side. Now, the next step is to make the hanging beads off our rainbow cloud. To do this, we're going to use 6 beads from a 6mm crystal mix of bicones. And we're going to need 8 head pins. So let's get 8 head pins. There, I think that's 8. And those of you that have seen some of my previous videos know that I like to use a bead that I call a cheater bead, which is a 7 or 8 millimeter round bead. And I use that as a guide as to where to cut my head pins and eye pins when I'm making bead drops or bead links. So I want to remove the dark blue and light blue bead 6 millimeter bicones from this mix. Here we go, 4 of each. I'm going to go ahead and slide these on, and then I'm going to use my little cheater bead, put that over my bicone, and then cut flush with the cheater bead at the top, and that's going to give me the perfect length to form a loop. So I'm going to go ahead, form a loop. Then I'll go ahead and make the remaining bead links. So this makes a sparkly little bead link. I'm going to go ahead and make up the others. Okay, now I have made 4 dark blue bead drops and 4 light blue bead drops. The next step is to cut your chain, and I went ahead and pre-cut 2 1.5 inch lengths of chain and 2 1 inch lengths of chain. The first step is to attach a dark blue bead drop to one end of each length of chain. So I'll go ahead and do that first. Now that I have all my dark blue bead drops at one end of the chain, the next step is to find the middle of each chain and attach a light blue bead drop to the link of chain that is in the middle. I found on the 1.5 inch lengths of chain, the middle link is approximately link number 13. So I'm going to take one of those chains, I'm going to open the loop on one of these light blue bead drops, and I'm going to try to use my needle nose pliers to hold it. Then I'm going to count from the bottom up and try to attach it to link number 11. I'm going to go ahead and do the other 1.5 inch length of chain, open another bead drop, and try to repeat that. Next, on the 1 inch lengths of chain, I found that link number 7 is in the middle. So I'm going to try to attach a light blue bead drop to link number 7 from the bottom on both of these. Next, I'm going to take the 28 gauge wire again, and I'm going to cut, I'm just going to take like let's say 9 inches. Again, that's more than we need, but it's going to give us plenty of extra wire to wrap. So I want to figure out where I want to hang my chains, and I think My first chain I want to hang on this side on the bottom because I don't want it to slide. I'm trying to keep them separated. And I'm going to start with my 1.5 inch longer chain. And I'm going to slide the middle of this wire into the last link on the other side. And then I'm going to take one tail and go behind the other tail and go in front. And snug those up. I want to make sure the chain is going to dangle freely. So then I'm going to hold one tail and I'm going to wrap the other side, around 5 times. Try to keep the wraps nice and snug around that bottom edge of the cloud. I'm going to take my needle nose pliers and squeeze those wraps so they're nice and snug. Then I'm going to take the other tail and I'm going to be wrapping in the opposite direction around that bottom edge. Then I will take my flush cutters, or you can use wire cutters, and I'm just going to trim those tails flush with the bottom edge and use my needle nose pliers to make sure I don't have any sharp tail ends exposed. Okay. Next I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the other 3 on. This one's long, I'm going to do short, long, short. So I'm going to stagger them. Okay, now that I have all the chains and bead drops hanging off the bottom, and I'm just doing a once over to make sure that I have no sharp tails exposed. Pinch those with my needle nose. And last but not least, we will connect an ear wire to the top loop. And I'll close that, and we have made one earring. I'm going to go ahead and make the matching earring, and I'll be right back. Okay, now that I've made the matching earring, you can see how they came out. These make me happy, they make me smile. If you make your own rainbow cloud earrings, we'd love to see them. And you could share them with us on Instagram at #CreateWithCousin. Thanks for joining us today. See you next time. Bye.